okay.
I just love that it ends in an ER.
I didn't really care about that.
I know you can't say this on the air, but how high on the list was this possible name?
No, I can't. But for people looking at
unfortunately, that's 3 syllables.
News Channel 8,
2 words.
You can see that. So that's what it is.
That's great.
It's
Tony.
chat.
I'm happy for you that you guys agreed upon something
I like
that
it.
you're happy.
And that studio, I hope and trust. Perhaps I shouldn't trust. I should just say I hope. But I say that studio opens on Monday, May 1st.
Ah, boy.
That's where we're going to be starting Monday, May 1st. And we're going to be open for breakfast. If anybody wants to come by on the corner of Wisconsin and Jennifer, right inside the district line in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, you can come by Monday.
Come watch us shatter at Shatter. See what I did there?
We'll leave a mic on for you.
And is it fair to say that May 1st show will begin with "We are coming to you not from," and then you will give the name of this currently undisclosed location?
Yes, I will do that. And I hope we're in there. We looked at the table yesterday, the broadcast table, made a couple of adjustments to it, where I would sit. I will explain this once we get in there. I will explain why I'm sitting where I'm sitting for those of you who watch.
Is it like up on a throne?
No,
are you like going to be higher than us?
It's a dais, raised dais.
No, but because I've known Gene for so long and love Gene so much, somewhere in there will be written the word Mitzi's. And it'll be like a treasure hunt for people.
That would be nice.
On one of the bricks.
Maybe you can have like
Mitzi's.
a Mitzi's.
Yeah.
This could have been Mitzi's.
Or put something on the menu for it, like a Mitzi's candied bacon appetizer or something.
Yeah.
So,
A bacon wrapped bacon.
Chatter, you're the one.
I was so afraid I was going to hate it, and I was going to have to sit here and say, after that big build up, I was going to have to sit here and say, I hate it. Because of course I would tell you. But I don't hate it. I really like it.
It's the marriage of the podcast studio to the name. And so I'm happy with that.
It makes sense. Thank God she came up with it.
So we'll take a break, and when we return, Ann Hornaday will join us with some movie reviews. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to The Tony Kornheiser Show.
Here's the Harry's, Ann. We're working on getting the Harry's razor from Luke. Compared to Harry's is so confident you will love your place. You should try. Stop messing around. Get started shaving with Harry's today by claiming your free trial / Tony K. Wright.
Kornheiser Show.
We have taken objective Duff.
Hank, every 6 Smokes old 97s, the Walkman, Cracker, Camper von Beethoven, and many others. Check us out on Spotify or the Apple Music Store. Our songs are very lyrical, as the lyricist. But I've also attached one of our songs with the lyrics stripped out, which is probably nice.
Yes. Okay. And when I told her to send some back with the lyrics, we actually like them.
Right.
The words.
Yeah.
They're actually accomplished.
I feel really old that I knew.
Violent Femmes.
I've heard of them. I've not heard them. Speaking about Violent Femmes, Ann Hornaday joins us now.
Boom.
And Ann's got a whole bunch of things out there for this week, and the one we're going to start with. And I know nothing about any of these. Well, I take that back. I heard one word about the third movie, Lost City of Theater. The first one is called All I know is that Katherine Heigl is in it, and it's a jealous ex-wife story. Here's the question I have. Why isn't she a star? I mean, didn't it look like she was a breakout star? She did Knocked Up, right? And didn't it look like she was going to become why isn't she a star?
I don't know. I think, she was all positioned. She did a whole string of rom-coms, so she was going to sort of be her generation's Meg Ryan and Julia Roberts. She was sort of following in those footsteps.
Yeah.
And they weren't very good movies, for one thing. I mean, they didn't, they weren't classically on par with A Pretty Woman or Harry Met Sally. They were actually, right, none of the movies that Katherine Heigl did achieved.
Oh, that's how it's pronounced, Heigl?
I don't even know. You know me. If there's a correct pronunciation, I will go 180 degrees opposite of that pronunciation. And I think she's been outspoken about her work and about her dissatisfaction with various, she came out against she kind of backtracked on Knocked Up, and I don't think that endeared her to her colleagues.
She did a big diva move on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what that was.
She was up for an Emmy and she said, I don't know why I'm nominated for this, but writing on the show is terrible.
That's it. Yeah. So when you do stuff like that, and she kind of did the same thing to the knocked up people. And
Man, I must have been good.
Never a good idea.
Because you should have
never a
seen
good
it.
idea.
Yeah.
So, and this is a movie about violence, then. So your segue was completely on point.
Spurred wife or something? Yeah.
What was that?
Spurred wife or something? This one?
Spurred, I thought you said third wife. Spurred wife, yes. Ex-wife, psychotic ex-wife, played by
Well, we've
Catherine.
all had those.
You know, we can all, yeah.
Some of us are working on it, Tom.
Yeah.
Kind of doing the boiling bunny routine on the new lady played by Rosario Dawson, and it's just, you know, it's really interesting. I don't know, we have not really talked about Big Little Lies, have we? Have we?
No, that's an HBO series. I've not seen it.
I've seen it.
All right, then you'll know what I'm talking about, Jenny. It's a very similar setup to the Reese Witherspoon, Zoe Kravitz scenario in terms of jealousy and insecurity and kind of, you know, feeling like somebody else has taken your life and taken the best. And that Big Little Lies was so good. It was just so well written and so well acted and just so beautifully produced.
Agreed.
That when they plot something like this out, that is just so it's retrograde, not only politically in terms of the anti-feminism, toxic, you know, female intragender.
We have lost objective Duff.
You know, just these really retrograde notions of female competition. It just looks like it's been beamed from another era. You're just sitting there going like, are you kidding me? There's still making things like this? And it even kind of harkens back to a different age of filmmaking. Like, we just don't have room for these things anymore. These movies that just seem to get made because famous people agree to do them. You know, it just has all these earmarks of something that just shouldn't be. I don't know. I feel like we've vaunted past this by now.
So you didn't like it?
So unforgettable.
I not like
is
it.
not.
It's not unforgettable.
Exactly, as I said in the piece today, it's going to disappear from theaters faster than you can say oxymoronic title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the next one is Free Fire. This is Brie Larson, who won
Yeah.
an Academy Award last year, and to my knowledge hasn't been in anything else. And it's described as an action comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's and she was in Kong Skull Island.
Well, that's not one that I would see.
Which makes this the second movie this year that she's in that has a little needle drop of John Fogerty singing Run Through the Jungle. Just a little FYI.
Okay. All right.
And this is by this guy named Ben Wheatley, who's a British film director who is a very, very gifted filmmaker. He did a movie last year called High Rise with Tom Hiddleston that was based on an I can't remember the Ballard, you know, the sci-fi author Ballard.
I don't know.
I
know Greg Ballard. He was a 3 for the Bullets. He was a pretty
See,
good
this is
shooter.
why, you know, we get on here and it's just like we're just talking past each other. Anyway, he's a very gifted filmmaker, and he especially loves action and violence and gunplay, kind of kinetic, kinetic. He's very much in the tradition of Tarantino, to the point where this is almost like Hateful Eight, reconstituted in a 70s era warehouse where a group of IRA gun runners are purchasing weapons from a South African dealer. And it's kind of this one room, things go awry, of course, and it turns into this kind of real-time, one room, you know, fight to the finish about who will survive.
So
it's
she's
like
still stuck in one room?
One big room. It's a warehouse.
Didn't she win an Academy Award for being stuck in one room?
Oh, you're so right. Why didn't I think of that?
Oh. Well,
But she, no spoilers here, but, you know, technically it was one room.
Okay, and this is a comedy?
Yeah, there's a lot of Armie Hammer is in it, Cillian Murphy, Charlton Copley plays the arms dealer. Really great cast. And there's a lot of badinage, a word that's actually used in the movie.
Badinage.
A lot of banter, a lot of verbal interplay. It's very glib. I thought that it wore out. The novelty wears off, and the glibness. You know, it's one of these movies. It's very Tarantino-esque, where the violence is cartoonish and consequence-free, and I think
you don't like that.
Brand, that's the thing that bugs me the most. I just think it's cynical and it's wrong, and I just in my waning years in this business, it bugs me more and more. So it's it's a little piece of fun. It's quick. It's like I said, it's very well made, and for people who enjoy that kind of thing, I think they'll get a bang out of it.
A little bit fresh.
We
Sounds
are
a little
losing
fresh.
Well, it's interesting.
conceptually.
Yeah, well, it also sounds like the Tarantino movie with, Mr. Pink. And,
Reservoir
Yeah.
Dogs.
It's very much, and to
Sounds
me it
like-
was more like Hateful Eight in terms of that one room thing, and very similar in terms of sensibility. So I kind of felt like I'd seen it before.
You mentioned it was quick. I had this conversation with my Jared the other day, and we were talking about. He mentioned a movie that he
We are
liked
losing Objective Charlie.
called The Good Shepherd from about 10 years ago with
Yeah.
Matt Damon and the CIA.
I love
and
it.
I
Yeah.
said I loved that movie.
That was a good movie,
And-
wasn't it?
Right, and he said, I wonder why that wasn't a hit. And I said, the only thing I can think of, Jared, is that it went on for about 3 hours.
It was long,
And
but
it was
had
just
to be long.
too long.
It was
Yeah.
subtle, that movie.
It's a great movie. It's
That was a
great
good movie.
Yeah. So anyway.
I didn't review it, but I watched it because I interviewed De Niro when he received a Kennedy Center honor. And I'm like, I need to watch it. And I'm like, wow, that was a really good movie.
Yes.
Good job.
Yes. All right, the next movie, this is the one that I heard one line about, and I don't know who told me this, but it was The Lost City of Z.
Oh.
And I said, well, that's got to be garbage. And the person said to me, no, this is really good.
This is a wonderful movie.
This is really good.
I want to see this.
So
This is a
talk about it.
wonderful movie. It's based on the book by David Graham, who's a great nonfiction writer. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read the book, but it's on my list. But it's about this British explorer in the early 20th century who, first under the auspices of the Royal Geographic Society, and then later on his own, explores South America and is convinced there's a lost civilization. That there are the remnants of a lost civilization in the jungle, in the Amazonian jungle, that he's determined to find. And
Wait, and John Fogerty doesn't sing Let's Run Through the Jungle in this one?
They missed their chance. They missed their chance. No, but it's been done by a filmmaker named James Gray, who's done consistently wonderful work. I mean, since his first movie, a little movie called Little Odessa, he did The Yards, which features my favorite fight. My favorite fight between two characters, because it's so realistic, and it's not, like they don't use celery stalk to do the cracks. It's like you can hear the dull punches, and it's kind of awkward and kind of stupid and quiet, the way a lot of fist fights are. Anyway, he did Two Lovers with Joaquin Phoenix and Gwyneth Paltrow, which was a little gem. And then he did a movie a few years ago called The Immigrant, which was a period piece that I thought had some structural issues, but clearly this is a filmmaker who is unlike the Ben Wheatleys of the world. Not that we don't have room for everything, because we do. But James Gray is really dedicated to kind of classical filmmaking, really in that Good Shepherd tradition that you and I were just talking about. He likes to tell a story and to tell it well and to not really put a lot of spin on the ball and do a lot of, he doesn't distract you with fancy camera work, although there are visual images in this movie and visual saints that are absolutely exquisite. So he tells the story of this guy over a great period of time. We get, it gets into World War I. It gets into more than one journey to the jungle. So you have to settle in. I mean, the movie isn't long, but it's a sprawling story. It's very much in that, sort of Lawrence of Arabia tradition. But it's really beautiful, and Charlie Hunnam plays the lead.
Don't know who that is.
I guess he was in Sons of Anarchy. Was that his big?
Yeah, I don't watch that show. I don't watch Sons of Anarchy.
But you're sitting there thinking, wow, that looks like a young Brad Pitt, and then you realize, oh, Brad Pitt produced this movie and was at one point slated to star. So it's kind of funny that they picked an actor
Brad
so much
Pitt
like him.
produces a lot of movies.
And they're so
And they're good.
Yeah.
His stuff is good.
This is so interesting to watch, this plan. His company's called Plan B, and at this point now where if you see the words Plan B, but it's become a
Good
real
name for a
brand
restaurant.
for quality. I mean, that sounds like such a, corny line. But this is a beautiful, beautiful movie, and it's like for people who complain that they don't make them like they used to, it's like, yes, they do. This is one. Please go see it.
Okay.
Support it.
Oh, that's wonderful to know.
It's terrific. It's really terrific.
Okay, and then you were gonna. I don't get Netflix. I'm the only person in the world because I don't.
Really?
I don't get it because I don't want. I don't even watch what I want to watch on TV.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm never going to watch it, but it's something called Tramps that you wanted to talk about.
Wonderful little movie. I saw it last year at Toronto by a young filmmaker named Adam Leon, he did a neat debut movie a few years ago called Gimme the Loot. It had a kind of crackling, urban, Woody Allenish, whimsical energy, and this is very much in that tradition. It's about two young people who are kind of plunged into the middle of this paper that they don't quite understand. And this is a very swift little movie. It's delightful. It's funny. It's romantic. It happened one night. It's in that vein. There's a bit of a screwball comedy element to it. Sweet and incredibly well filmed and well written. And it went straight to Netflix. And I actually talked to Adam about that. And I talked to there have been a number of good movies this year. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. By Megan Blair with Melanie Linsky, also went straight to Netflix after being an opening night film at Sundance. And these guys, you would think it would be kind of like, oh, rats, I didn't get my theatrical opening. And it's like, no, actually, they're totally okay with it. Because of Netflix, and Amazon does it too, the way that they match movies with their subscribers and let their subscribers know about stuff they might like, these movies are really finding an audience, and the filmmakers are quite happy about it. So it's an interesting kind of change in the way things are being done.
That Tony reminds me of what Pablo Torre said on the show a couple weeks ago about not caring that his work isn't print, it's online. Yeah, very, very similar.
It's interesting, isn't it? And I feel like this generation, there was a time when they still wanted a little bit of theatrical opening just to say they had it, or to be able to see their movie on the big screen. And I feel like now this generation isn't as attached to that as previous ones. And it's kind of like they just really want people to see their work and respond, and they want to make work. And it's the Amazons and Netflixes that are actually giving these guys the means to do that. So it's just a new, and then when you compare it to something like an Unforgettable, which looks so kind of lumbering and like a waste of, kind of almost a waste of space in terms of the brick and mortar theater, I just feel like there's a change of foot, and I'm hoping that these movies will, retain their viability going forward.
Do you want to plug the DC Film Festival?
Yeah, it's underway. They have some really, really good movies this year. They have like one of the big hits out of Sundance called Patty Cake is playing tomorrow. A bunch of really wonderful documentaries. A great Egyptian film that I saw at Cannes last year called Splash. I think it's playing today or tomorrow.
Like how great Egyptian films are fine.
Well, I mean, it's really good. It's kind of a one-room exercise. It's a bunch of people who have been detained after a protest march, and they're all in the same police truck, and so and they're all from different backgrounds and political and religious sensibilities, and it's kind of, it's like Life, the Hitchcock movie Life,
like it is.
Come from away. It's like they'll come from away.
Yeah, or Cairo on My Mind.
I want to see that. Anyway, so yeah, there are a lot of really good stuff. Check it out.
And one appeal on behalf of the Littles, you mentioned that we are with film fight.
Yeah.
Maybe a little tweet of Ann Hornaday's top 3 or 5 cinema fight scenes.
Let me think about that.
You said something about they don't use broccoli?
Celery.
Celery, rather?
Oh, yeah.
Is
that the sound effect that they use? Oh, right.
Sometimes they would do that, right, yeah. They would kind of crack the celery for that cracking. Because it always bugs me when you always hear a bone breaking, even though they've been they're hitting them in the abdomen or something. You know what I mean?
Is that fight with Mark Wahlberg?
Yes, it's Mark Wahlberg and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
and did you see that?
And they were apparently actually really fighting. I mean, it was such an intense experience. But if you watch it, it's very, it just does away with all those cliches.
Yeah, well, you're right, because a real fight, isn't a pretty thing.
Loud.
It's not
choreographed.
Exactly,
and it's kind of silly, and it's awkward.
Not everybody fights like Sly Stallone.
Did I know we have to get out of here, I'm sorry, but selfishly, did you see Born in China, which Spike and Ike are on me to take them to? you see that Disney or say Schmaltzy thing?
No, because I'll cry like a big baby.
Okay.
And it'll be very embarrassing and it'll hurt my credibility.
We can't have that.
Simple. No, I think I had a competing screening that night.
We will talk to you next week. Thank you, Ann.
You betcha.
Ann Hornaday, boys and girls. We will take a break. We will come back with Nigel and News. I am Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to The Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Posting your job in one place isn't enough to find qualified and quality candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites, and now you can. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 200 plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Find candidates in any city and industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by Fortune 100 companies and thousands of small. By one more time.
Ringo on drum.
This screen soon also will be claiming Canadian status as not to get the unofficial TK salute. In critical commentary, and David Teeter writes, he's been fighting cancer for 3 years. You know, no special snowflake, he writes, more of a medical mystery. They have no idea how it started. But like many, your show is my daily, except for that vacation you took and told no one about recently. Sons of bitches. Just kidding. And he writes, I get to spend time with my 7-year-old dad. Only took the cancer in 40 years to get close. I even picked back up the clubs to play with him. I'm strengthened by the relationship you and Michael have, and it's great to have that with him. I feel so old now since I remember the proud dad moments in baseball as you buried another dog. It's a wonderful email. It's a wonderful sound.
It is, and the Jet Beats, by the way, will be going to my old neck of the woods. They're going to be at the Caledonia Pub in Liverpool on May 13th, and back the Latham Hall in Liverpool, and the Cabin Pub. A couple of dates in
That's
Liverpool.
fantastic.
Thrown out of there.
You can hear all this music at the end of this show in full. And Michael, if people want to send it, how do they?
They can send it to jingles@2020.show.com.
And also, in terms of gear, because it's the end of the week, if people want to buy some gear.
Well, if they want to buy gear, they can shop at TonyKornheiserShow.com. The mugs and tumbers are selling quite well. I think we're going to do a reorder.
Okay.
And I think we are about to introduce a sale on some winter sweatshirts and
Fantastic. And if people want actually good clothing, what can they do?
Well, if you want good clothing, I would still steer you towards Johnny O. Where that promo code is still working, and I would ask that you look at some of the MLB official gear now that it's baseball season.
So we're big fans of Johnny.
Yes.
I talked to Norby Williamson, my friend, who I played golf with. You know, what if Johnny O stuff's really nice? I said, I'll send you some. As a matter of fact, I got to get some for Jack Vardy.
The great Jack Vardy. Or is this a different guy?
So do you have news?
I do indeed, Mr. Tony. So the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road against the Indiana Pacers. No, it was Indianapolis, I'm sorry. And down 26 points in the second half. They said, all right, well, we'll be going on to the next game in this one.
Really?
They came back. LeBron James led the way, 41 points, 13 rebounds,
28 the second half.
2 blocks. He scored or assisted on 73 points, the most in the playoff game.
45 minutes played.
Which you can do in the playoffs because you don't go back to back. Right. Which you can do. Michael Wilbon yesterday predicted that Indiana would win this game because Wilbon loves Paul George. And Paul George
Who had an amazing game.
Yeah, he did. But he didn't win. Russell Westbrook had an amazing game the other night, and he didn't win. And the moral of the story is you don't bet against LeBron James. You just don't. In the fourth quarter, neither Kyrie Irving nor Kevin Love played. They didn't play. LeBron James took the game over. LeBron said Indiana would win. They didn't win. LeBron also said yesterday that Memphis would go to the line more often than San Antonio. And I said, no, they won't. No, they won't, even though the game's in Memphis. Said, yes, they will. Well, they beat the Spurs last night. But they didn't go to the line more or as much as the San Antonio Spurs. And that's because their coach, David Fizdale, because referees don't like it. When you rip referees,
right.
They don't like it. All referees are in the same fraternity. And it's not the fraternity of coaches. Even though Memphis was at home and went to the line more than they had before, they didn't go to the line as much as the Spurs because he's not Greg Popovich. David Fizdale is some guy waiting online for tickets to a movie. He's just a guy at
Rookie.
this point. That's all he
Ain't
is.
gonna rook
Now,
us.
he had a great line when he said, "You're not going to rook me."
Right.
That was a great line.
But they rooked him.
But the referees said, "Really, really."
Take that for granted. By the way, LeBron James in line last night, 41 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists, 7 of 14, 50% from the line. I mean, he was right there for what could have been a 45.
He's not a good foul shooter. He's not a good foul.
Well, he's better than 50%.
Yes, but he's not a good foul shooter.
One other game last night, the Bucks beat the Raptors 104-77. 2 games to 1. The Nats. I was talking about this with
Let's
Jeannie.
talk about the Nats.
I was talking about this with Jeannie before the show. Do you remember a time, it doesn't seem that long ago, when the Braves beat the Nats
Every time.
single
Yes.
time?
And now the reverse is true.
And now the reverse is
Love
true.
that new stadium.
Yeah, it's really
3-0
working out
in it.
for him. Steven Strasburg was outstanding last night again.
You finish your line, and then I'll go with mine.
And the Nats win 3-2.
Okay. So Steven Strasburg's line
Now to Tony's
is
chatter.
outstanding.
April baseball.
It's 7 innings,
70 degrees.
6 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. Okay, that's fine. 10 strikes. 30th time in his career.
I was surprised.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
30th time in his career, he's had a start that yielded 10 or more strikeouts. Now, did you watch the 7th inning, his last inning?
I did not watch this.
All right, well, let me. First of all, I had a conversation last night on the phone with Ray Knight.
Oh.
Now, I think that I've said this publicly before. I think Ray Knight's great.
Yes.
In the pregame and the
I
postgame,
do too. Very
when
much
he
so.
puts the bat in his hands and tells you what is going
Yeah.
on. And by the way, those few times during the year when he does the color on the main games, often when they go to Cincinnati, because he played for so long in Cincinnati, he's great, Ray Knight.
Yes.
Ray Knight, not afraid to point out what you're watching. Not afraid to say people have made mistakes. Not afraid to do it. And I complimented Ray Knight, and I really enjoyed talking to Ray Knight. So I just but in any case, in that 7th inning last night, Steven Strasburg was hit hard.
Oh, he was.
He didn't strike anybody out in the 7th inning last night. He had nothing left but fumes. Michael A. Taylor makes with a man on first, makes a diving catch of a line drive that if it sinks away from him and goes by him, it's a 4-3 game the other way. It's an inside the park home run. In the last out of the inning, a guy hit the ball 7,000 miles an hour down the left field line that Anthony Rendon backhanded, and it got to him so quickly that he threw somebody out by 20 feet. And those balls, did you watch, Michael?
I did. There were some great defensive
Those
plays,
balls were
particularly in
hitting
the
hard.
outfield to support.
Bryce had it.
Yes. So Steven Strasburg, so he could not have pitched another batter.
You are going as far away from Ryan Zimmerman as you can.
No, Ryan
Yeah.
Zimmerman. No, not because this is what
Such
I've
a
written down.
joy to see him hit
Ryan Zimmerman hit the 2-run
It's like it's
homer
2005.
off R.A. Dickey, and what I wrote down, it's the 2nd game in a row that Ryan Zimmerman has hit a home run and had multiple RBI. He's batting 389. 389. Ryan Zimmerman alone, if he reverses his season from last year, that alone makes the Nats World Series contenders, even with a shaky bullpen. And now they're going to show. Now it's showing. Now Blake Trinan's not getting in
We have
except
lost
with the
objective
word
Edward.
mop up for a while now, right?
Even,
Right, I would
even
agree.
then.
And wasn't
I'm
it
holding
great?
my breath.
And wasn't it great now that they've resolved that closer situation to just get that 1-2-3 ninth and close it
did
out
not.
like Sean Kelly did?
No,
I
Sean
know.
Kelly
did not.
1 and 2
I
apparently.
know. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, Sean
gave
Kelly
up a
was-
hit
With
and
the
then walked
walk,
the guy.
with the
Shaky.
walk, he did not shy away from
He did not.
his intended path, which is a strikeout approach.
He did not look, unlike Trinan the
Didn't look
previous
scared.
night, he did not look like his confidence was shattered. It was just a little more nerve-wracking. But yeah, some of them you're going to close like that. It's not all.
I would just point out, and you know I'm a Red Sox fan, so
We
I'm a
are
little
losing
biased here,
objective
but if you're not
Charlie.
watching Chris Sale pitch this year, you're missing out on something special.
You know, Kelleher and I were talking about Chris Sale yesterday. Chris Sale, until July, year after year after year after year, is one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball.
And then he fades.
But after, he's never won 20. I mean, he started out like 9-0 or 11-1 in July, and then he doesn't win
have
20.
taken objective apples.
Something happens, and I was saying to Matt, maybe the fact that he's 6'5" and 170 pounds has something to do with it. I mean, he's really thin. I think he gets fatigued by the end of the year because he's a great pitcher.
I didn't realize that. He said he is listed at 6'6", 172.
He doesn't weigh anything.
But right now,
he's great.
It was like 8. He only has like one win.
Look at his first half statistics compared to his second.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Well, that's great.
Get a stat boy.
Yeah. Tiger Woods under the knife again. This time it was successful surgery.
Yes, it was. That's great to hear.
Wasn't the last one?
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Lower right back fusion surgery Wednesday in hopes of alleviating that ongoing pain that has plagued him in recent years.
We have
but
lost
he will be out for
objective
6
Edward.
months. Be out for all the majors, effectively ending his the season this year.
He had no season. He played in Dubai and it was terrible.
Yes.
In an in a tournament with 17 people, and he finished 17th or 16th, something.
When you look at the timeline of like his last major win,
2008.
Yeah, and his last win at a tournament
We have
was
taken
like
objective Butter.
No, he came back and won about 4 or 5
2 years
tournaments
ago.
one year.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, he just didn't win majors. Okay, here's the deal with Tiger. First of all, his people lie to you all the time. They tell you there's nothing wrong that needs an operation. They deny there's even back spasms. And you say, well, he's down on his knees holding his back. What's that? Did he trip? And so his representatives are always lying. And then when he does have an operation, it is always termed successful.
Yes.
This is his 4th back
We have taken
operation.
objective
He has
Charlie.
had 4 knee surgeries, each one successful. If they're that successful, why isn't he playing? Because they're not successful. And you can believe these lies if you want. You can believe his representatives if you want, but it's just stupid. I mean, believe your eyes. He can't play. He can't play. I don't know if he'll ever play. I'm not. I don't think he's going to play the senior tour. I don't. I mean, he was such a great champ. I don't know. Maybe he will. Michael, is he ever going to play?
At this point, I don't think he really will ever compete again. With this latest surgery, you just imagine he's going to have no more.
We have lost objective Charlie.
Interestingly enough, Tiger Woods and he told about his secret move, which is he tried to snap his lead knee backwards as hard as he could if he wanted to hit something a little bit extra. And I just think about the wear and tear on his body, and this is not a finesse game anymore. There are people who need finesse shots, and we all do, but you need to be able to swing your driver over 115. And I don't think he's going to be able to support the pieces of his body now.
We'd all love to see him play, but we are suffering under an illusion.
Who among us, and just speaking specifically
lost
to the listeners
objective
now
Butter.
that are actually getting older from day to day, who feels better when they wake up than 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago? So throw on top of that multiple back surgeries.
Do you think he's got
Yes. He just signed a big deal with Bridgestone Golf Balls.
Okay.
Yes. He can sell product. He's Tiger Woods. He can move product. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Does he do like Greg Norman design tools?
He
He
started
started doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking now of the
Chicago course.
I'm thinking of the tennis and golf. The much is taken, much abides. And though we're not now that strength, which in old days we birthed and having that which we are. There's 2 ways to look at Tiger right now.
Oh my God, you're raising the bar.
We have
One
taken
is
objective
We're going to have to
Butter.
put him on at midseason.
One is the hero looking back
Spoken
at
word
these
night.
conquests of his youth, and the other is a guy who's just completely out of touch and wants to go back out there and battle the young guys.
They're not afraid of
sentry
him.
kit is
And by the
available
way,
near your
when Tiger
location.
came on tour, there were some people who asked him, nobody as good as him hit it as far as he did. And now he's in the dust with these guys. Right? They're 20. Dustin Johnson's 20 yards past him. Right? Got him.
More than that.
Yeah.
So.
Tony, I got as far as last
We are
year on
winning.
Chris Sale, who was 14-3 in the first half and 3-7 in the second.
There you go.
Don't step off that bus. What's that thing? Step off that. What do kids say?
I don't know.
Don't step on me. Don't tread on me. Eat it. It's easy.
Step away, step down, stand down.
There's a slogan.
Back off, Sam.
To the NFL, Mr. Tony.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, you don't want to do that?
No, it's fine. We'll get to that in Old Guys. Old Guys coming up. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to The Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Upside.com read, especially on right first time. Grinding at the restaurant known as Chad's Shine Box for the majority of my dinners here. I write to you to ask if you could autograph my copy of Pumping Iron for my father. He's been a fan of yours since the 90s, and I'm hoping to surprise him for Father's Day. You know? So
I hope he doesn't listen.
Well, he's gonna.
Spoiler alert.
You know what? It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling the story. The father's going to be very great.
Yes.
He said that I bought him timeless trophy, personalized with a cheesery, and come on, man, what do we do? There's nothing new about the And to aid in the autograph process, I'm taking advice from him. Something everyone should have. You know, and he doesn't want it to be mentioned on the podcast, but he loses on this. Because I'm going to tell the story. So I'm sitting here. I'm sitting there with Justin, and he's a school teacher. He's a teacher in a rather poor county in southern Kentucky. He went to the University of Kentucky. He's a history teacher. And why is he here? Because one of his kids in a poor rural county of Kentucky in a public school qualified for the National Geographic Bee or something like that, or the National History Bee, whatever. And that kid is here with his mom. And I said, and Justin was done eating, I said, Justin, when you're done, come sit with us. And we chatted for a while, and he told me some fascinating things about his life. One is, he is 26. He has a younger brother